Monica, welcome
Hello.
to Chamber Chat. How are you?
I'm great, Trent.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Listen, tell the folks who you are and who you represent.
I'm here. I'm Monica Totton. I'm the Executive Director of the Regina Early Learning Center.
And great. And tell us about the Regina Early Learning Center. Tell us what it entails and go on, if you can, about what the purpose is.
Sure, yeah. So in 1977, our organization was founded by Anne Luke. She was a kindergarten teacher in a community school in Regina, and she recognized very quickly, as a newcomer to Canada, the disparities of children that were showing up in kindergarten, and she really wanted to provide something different. She wanted to check in with families and see how she could bridge some of those gaps so that all children were ready to learn when they entered kindergarten. So she went out into the community and started knocking on doors and asked parents what they wanted for their children, and gathered up a few parents and started the preschool for 10 children, fall of 1977.
Wow.
And from there, almost 4 decades later, we serve about 250 children through preschool and home visiting, and then many more through our universal programs, the Early Years Family Resource Center and the Perinatal Health Network.
So you have more than one location then in Regina, right?
We do. We have 3 locations. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so tell me, how do families put their children in there? Or is there some sort of acceptance, or how's that work?
Yeah, it just depends which program you're wanting access to. Some
Right.
of our programs prioritize low income,
Right.
and some of them are universally accessible by anyone in the community.
And it's grown into quite a program from its meager starts in 1977.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so yourself, you're the executive director,
Right.
And you've been there for how long?
I've been with the agency just over 6 years, and in this position just about 2 years.
So let me ask this question: an organization like this is not for profit, correct?
Right.
So how does one get their funding?
For us, a big chunk of our funding is through provincial government.
Right.
And then we have some municipal funding, as well as a series of grant writing and a lot of fundraising.
A lot of self-help, if you call it, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the events or something that you do with respect to the fundraising that you do on your own.
Well, just this last year, we had the opportunity of being the charity partner for India Night with Cultural Connections Regina.
Right.
So that was a huge opportunity. We had over 600 people come out to an event and raised just over $145,000. So that was significant. That's a huge launch pad for us. But next spring, we will be coming back to our own event called Small Hands, Big Dreams at the casino.
Okay, so this is a whole new organization and a whole new event.
Yeah, we've had Small Hands, Big Dreams for a couple of years now, but we took a break to partner with Cultural Connections for India Night. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So do your staff do all the work for that, or do you have a volunteer committee put together on that?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
We just actually this year launched a position for Manager of Development.
Oh, okay.
So she is working hard at some of those pieces, and then we do have volunteers from the community who help us out and take it as far as we can.
Which is much appreciated, no doubt.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah, a lot of help from them guys.
How many staff do you run right now?
We have just over 40 staff.
Wow, that's significant. So therefore, the fundraising is a big part of this, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that truly helps pay for the programming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you've done some work on your branding, et cetera, in the last little while. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's sort of an ongoing path. We found that we've been in Regina for a long time, but there's still a large part of the community that doesn't know about
Yeah.
us. So I like to describe it as this little hidden gem, and the people that know us, but we really want to take that to the broader community to really help share our story and the impact we have for Regina as a whole. So we've been working alongside Strategy Lab Marketing, as well as we've had some mentorship with Phoenix Group.
Right.
So really excited about just getting clear on that brand recognition and how we can partner with, business to really understand the impact of early childhood development and assisting families in those early years.
And I'm familiar with both those organizations you mentioned. They're both excellent. But let's talk a little bit about the impact. What is the impact of the organization? Like, obviously, you've been around for decades, so I'm sure you've seen some positive outcomes.
Yeah, and a lot of our stories, like we've been involved with some research initiatives over a number of years before my days, but there is some records.
Yeah.
But like primarily it's when I'm out in community and I'm chatting with people and they're like, oh, I went there as a kid, or my kids went there, you know. So it's just making those connections and trying to bring people back to how it started for them and how we can continue to share that message of impact it had and where we can go.
Monica, do you have one of those stories that you could share with us in terms of someone that maybe went through the program, or a parent that is passed on some positive mentions about the Early Learning Center?
Sure, yeah. Our manager of development, Meredith Sayer, she was one of the speakers at India Night as well, and she credits a lot of her growth for herself and her children as being part of the Early Learning Center. She started as a young mom over 25 years ago in program, and yeah, and a couple of her kids have attended preschool, and she also participated in Parents as Teachers. And while she was a parent, she was going to school and furthering her education, and so she sat on the board for a little while, and then following that, after she finished her education, our director at the time offered her a job. So
Wow.
then she stepped into a role as a home visitor for 17 years and was really able to share her story of how she was able to overcome some of those challenges and assist other families in doing the same. And now she's at a level where she gets to share that story on a broader stage and really tell the impact for her over the last 25 years.
Isn't that a great story? I love that. I'm interested actually in the home visitation program. What does that all entail?
Sure, we actually offer 2 home visiting programs.
Okay.
One is Kids First, and that's funded through Saskatchewan Health Authority. And its eligibility for that is determined by the in-hospital birth questionnaire. And then they do an in-depth assessment and determine if you're a fit for the program.
Right.
And then you'll come onto caseload. There's actually 4 home visiting agencies in Regina, and we're one of them.
Okay.
And then the other program is Parents as Teachers, and it's a universal program. And you can self-refer, or you can be referred by another supporting professional. But both of them essentially are programs where our team is coming into the homes, sharing a curriculum with them, a parenting and early childhood curriculum, to enhance skills and understand development and attachment, and how the brain organizes itself in those early days to have the best success we can.
And those first 5 years are pretty important, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
extremely.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have research that backs that up,
Yeah,
correct?
there's lots of research for sure.
Okay.
And that's actually, we started out with the preschool, which is 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and as we got into it, there was a strong inclination that we needed to go even further ahead of that. So that's when we got into the home visiting programs and started working prenatal to age 3 as well.
Yeah, right.
So the whole continuum of the agency is prenatal to age 5.
So you're preparing these young people to move into elementary schools and further their education, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are you finding, and here's a question out of the blue, about the increase, and I've been reading about that, the increase in homeschooling. Is that affect the programming at all, or does it actually enhance it?
Actually, I don't know how
Yeah.
it's directly affected us, because
But-
we're like preschool,
Right,
but yeah.
You don't see that affecting it all. Interesting.
Yeah, we haven't made a direct correlation at this point.
At
I
this
guess.
point,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah, good question.
Dumb
though.
question. I don't know.
No, it's interesting. Now I'm going to be thinking.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about you, Monica. Tell us about yourself in terms of, I think you have a couple children, right? And maybe tell me about your family and maybe your own background.
Sure. Yeah. So I do have 2 kids. I have 2 daughters, 12 and 17. And, I grew up in Saskatchewan, South Saskatchewan, a farming community. And from there, I took a leap over to Alberta.
Oh, okay, like everybody used to
yeah,
do.
yeah, I think it was the late 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was a single parent, and I just wasn't able to sustain the lifestyle in Calgary as a single parent. So I moved back to my hometown and realized that parenting is really hard, and I really didn't know anything about parenting. So that's when my journey in early childhood started, and I went back to school to take the ECE program at SciEst at the time, Sask Poly, and launched my career into the childcare setting.
Really, that's
Yep.
so interesting. Yeah.
So I spent 5 years there, and then from there I went to the Ministry of Education as an early learning and childcare consultant.
great.
for about 5 years, and that's where my relationship with the Early Learning Center started, because I was the consultant who was responsible for licensing and monitoring the preschool program.
Right.
And immediately I was just like, this place is different. This place is special. And so when the time came to join their team, I took it.
Oh, that's
That's,
fantastic.
yeah, the last 6 years.
Oh, good for you. So, you find that you're a better parent now?
Maybe you should ask my kids.
I'm sure they're doing fine. So Regina's home at this point. And what about yourself? What do you like to do in your personal time? Because I know you're busy.
Yeah, I get asked what my hobbies are, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I need to do better at having hobbies, I think.
Yeah. So it's all work and kids, right?
That's a lot of it right now. I mean, when there's downtime, it's the typical watch some Netflix
Yeah.
or, meet up with some friends
And
or,
just relax a
yeah.
little bit.
yeah,
And you've been in Regina for how long?
just over a decade.
Over a decade. And
Yep.
thoughts on our city?
Oh, I mean, it's like a big small town,
Yeah.
and I've really appreciated at government. It was hard to know the lay of the land of the community
Right.
because it felt a little bit detached. But now that I've been at a community-based organization, just getting to know people at grassroots level and how everybody is in this together in a real positive way it's a great place to be.
And you see that through the events you do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like the community comes on board. Like
Yeah.
if you're attracting 600 people to Indian Night
Mm-hmm.
with the help of people like Renew Kapoor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really tells you that they care, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
tell me a little bit about what you think the importance is of belonging to the chamber and that community association.
Yeah, like we're pretty new members to the chamber, and when I came into this position, I was trying to figure out how to share our message in a broader way.
Yeah.
And then, thought, well, let's see what the chamber's about. And so had a couple of conversations, and it made sense to become a member. And ever since then, they've been really somewhat championing our message and what we do. So they've been helping us find opportunities to share with the community, to through their newsletters and through different events and networking. So it's been really helpful.
And you found out, I'm sure, that the chamber isn't all about the privately owned business corporation. You're a not-for-profit, and they actually do care about that. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's continue down that frame. Is like in the future, what do you see the Early Learning Center becoming?
Oh, that's like the $1 million
Yeah.
question, right?
You must have a vision.
Yeah, I mean, the needs of families in our community have become even more complex. There's a lot of challenges. So it's just really being in a place where we can sustain and grow, supporting families where they're at and being able to meet the need in the community. So first and foremost, it's being able to have services for everyone who needs it, essentially. Right. And then from there, just ensuring that they continue to be culturally appropriate and high quality, those kinds of things.
And so are the majority of your, what do you call, you wouldn't call them clientele, what would you call them, people that are part of the program? Members?
Families.
Good.
Caregivers and children.
Let's use that.
Yeah.
So the majority of your families, is there quite a few new Canadians and immigrants, or how's it broken down?
Highest population, it would be Indigenous families.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then the next highest would be the newcomer community, and then there, would be a handful of people that are not those.
So working with First Nations and Métis people, so did you have a lot of connectivity with them through other organizations?
We're always learning and growing in that capacity, but when Anne started out, it was a group of Indigenous mothers from the community that helped her get the preschool started.
Fantastic.
So roots right from the start. And I like to say that Anne was sort of a pioneer in a sense who was ahead of her time, because the work she was doing was really that of truth and reconciliation,
Even before, it was top of mind for us.
Right, before it was somewhat mainstream, to quote, so really giving them space to feel empowered about what was being offered for their children, what they needed for themselves, being inclusive and collaborative, those kinds of things.
That's got to be an
Continuing
exciting, as sitting as the executive director, you must be very proud of that.
Yes.
There's no doubt.
It's humbling for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that we as a community are starting to recognize and learning and having, I know myself about reconciliation, et cetera, and how important it is for us as a community as a whole, right?
Right.
Yeah, so your vision is obviously to expand the programming of that and continue it for it to be top of mind for people.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of wrap things up here, and thank you for this because I've learned a ton today. But let's just, if you can, just give us your thoughts on what we can do as we move forward to help you.
You mean as the chamber or
As not only the
community?
chamber but as the community.
I think primarily it would just be about taking the time to understand our work, and if there's an interest how you might get involved in our work or support our work. We're always happy to have people out and take them on a tour and show them a little more hands-on about what we do, because sometimes it's hard to really comprehend, I guess, the effort and the work without seeing the spaces. So by all means, reach out
It's a great idea.
and come for a tour and have a chat.
And they can reach you through your website, I'm sure. What's your
Yep.
website?
Yeah, earlylearning.ca.
Monica, you've done a wonderful job with this. I hope you enjoyed yourself, but we want to get the word out for sure. And
Perfect.
thank you for being part of this.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All the best.
Take care.
Take care.
Chamber Chats is produced bi-weekly by Skycron as a service to the Regina business community. We produce many series, including the television series Go Nitro for NBC Sports, CBS, and Fox, as well as corporate videos, events, and live streams, all right here in Saskatchewan. We can do the same for you. If you have a video project for your organization, call us at 306-720-0097. And let's get started on your next project.